This is Fans on the Run, a podcast made by, for, and about Beatles fans. And now, here's your host, Ethan Alexanian.
Hello. Welcome back to the show. I'm your omnipotent host, Ethan Alexanian, back for another week. And with us this week is known to some as the queen of all Beatles media, Miss Kit O'Toole. Kit, thank you for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure, Ethan. This is really an honor to be on.
Is it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know if it's an honor for me to be on. Yeah, this little ramshackle podcast.
Hey, I'm always up to talk Beatles and all that stuff.
Talk more talk, so to speak.
That's indeed. Talk more talk.
Speaking of Talk More Talk, you host a Beatles video podcast called Talk More Talk.
I do indeed. I host Talk More Talk along with Tom Hunyadi, Ken Michaels, Mean Mr. Mayo. May know him from YouTube. He's a longtime YouTube channel. Joe Mayo, we call him, along with Ken Womack, who also I know has been on this show as well. And Ken joins us when he can. As we know, he's about the busiest man you can possibly imagine.
That still makes me wonder how I was able to get him as my second guest.
I know. I mean, I don't, maybe he clones himself. I'm really not sure. I'm really not sure. But, yep, we do a month, actually it's a bi-weekly video-cast, and you can also, on Facebook Live, we do it live every other week, every other Monday, actually, at 9 p.m. Eastern, and then I upload it onto YouTube, and there's also an audio-only version, and you can find that on Podbean and virtually any other podcasting service you use. And we talk about the Solo Beatles years. We, of course, bring up the Beatles, every once in a while, maybe a little more than that, but we mainly focus on the solo years, and it's been a lot of fun to do. We just did our 40th episode, and thank you very much. And as you know, Ethan, we also have done some live in-person episodes at Beatlefest or Fest for Beatles fans, whatever you'd like to call it.
I made a cameo appearance as a rowdy audience member.
You certainly did, and helped out Ken Womack during a live trivia show that Ken and I did with the one and only Mark Lewison. So that's where we first met, and it was a lot of fun. So we've been, we've done some of those. We've done some conference appearances.
Ken, I love you. I saved your ass in that question.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you did indeed. I mean, it was such a good time, and so want to check us out? As I said, every other Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern. You can watch us on Facebook Live, and you can even participate in the discussion. We love to have people make comments and ask questions, and it's a very interactive show. So come on and join us.
Since you mentioned his name, I'd like to give a special shout out to Tom Hunyadi, who yesterday evening sent me some very kind words of encouragement about this newly christened podcast, offering support, and it really made my night. And hopefully somewhere down the road he'll be on the show. A big thank you. It really brightened my day.
He's a terrific guy, and he has his own podcast, which is also a video cast.
The Two Legs.
Two Legs, yep, about Paul McCartney's catalog. So another great show to check out.
And in general, to all of you out there who have listened so far to the previous episodes and who have liked my YouTube videos, thank you. It means a lot to me that this tiny, cheap little podcast from my bedroom is making some people's days brighter. Even though there is one dislike on the Ken Womack video. Oh. And that really, for some reason, got to my head. I'm like, what did I do wrong?
Don't worry about it. We've gotten some dislikes on the Talk More Talk videos, and whatever. I mean, you can't please everybody. But I just want to say too, I'm so glad you started this podcast. I mean,
I couldn't have done it without you and your support and advice.
Oh no, well, I was so glad, because I really like that, there are so many of the voices coming into the Beatles community now, and I particularly like getting younger voices in there, different perspectives, because, I think for a long time, and I love first generation perspectives, we need them, they were there. We get it. We want to hear that. But there are other perspectives too. Yeah. We need to hear from second generation and further on.
I don't even know what generation I am.
Yeah, I'm not sure, and there's a lot of debate about, because I've been called second generation, and then others have told me no, you're really third, and I mean there's a lot of debate about it, but the fact of the matter is that those of us who, I'll tell you, I'm a longtime writer for Beatle Fan magazine, and I wrote a piece years ago about Sgt. Pepper, and it was probably must have been the 50th anniversary, and I wrote it was the 40th anniversary. That's right. And we were publishing an issue celebrating it, and I said, could I write an article about the 40th anniversary and my impressions of the album, because of course I wasn't around when it first came out. So fine. So I wrote this article, and I got a couple of reactions from certain first generation fans who said, well, that was nice, but of course you weren't there.
Yeah. Which that's kind of condescending. Exactly.
And I thought, well, sure, I wasn't there, but that doesn't mean I can't speak about it. I mean, if we're going to go by that, well, then we might as well have no more books on Mozart, Beethoven, because we weren't there. I mean, that's ridiculous. Of course, we're going to continue to have books on different artists and written by people who, quotes, weren't there. And so that's why I was so excited when you, messaged me and talked about this, doing this, because we need different perspectives. We need different voices because we want the Beatles to continue, and be.
That's the theme of the show. Different perspectives of different fans.
Exactly. So I'm really, really excited that you're doing this.
Thank you. I became a Beatles fan because you just kind of reminded me when you're talking about generations, a very specific time frame, which is very funny. It was after the 2009 big remasters, but before the 2010 Red and Blue CDs got reissued. It was
interesting.
And it was right before they got onto iTunes as well, so.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Okay, that was an interesting time.
Yeah.
To become a fan. Wow.
So I grew up with the Beatles in a primarily internet way, but the only Beatles songs I had in my iTunes when I was first starting was the do you remember the Capitol albums CD set?
Oh, sure. I remember that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Volume 1 was on our computer with, Meet the Beatles, second album, so on and so forth. So
absolutely.
In a weird way, I actually grew up with those weird Dave Dexter Jr.ized stereo mixes.
Sure. Wow, interesting. So you kind of, you came at it in a couple of different ways. Fascinating. Okay.
And this is unrelated to the Beatles, but you and I also have something else in common.
Oh, yeah?
A common love of Michael Jackson.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, so I'll let the listeners in on a little secret. Back in grade 2, I was known at my school as Mini Michael Jackson because I would dance like him. And, I was an obsessive Michael Jackson fan.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I had every Michael Jackson CD.
Oh, wow.
I even had, import CDs.
Wow, so you were hardcore.
I was hardcore.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And on that note, what is your favorite Michael Jackson album?
Oh, easy. Off the Wall. Absolutely.
Okay.
That is my favorite. And
work of art
I,
on
and
Quincy Jones' part.
Yep. I'm a huge Quincy Jones fan too, and Off the Wall. Okay, and I have to admit this too, that was probably one of my first, not the first, but one of my first non-Kitty albums that I ever owned.
Yeah. So not like Muskrat Love or
Right.
Disco Duck.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this was, I think, the very first non-Kitty record I ever owned was Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life. I think
That's a great album.
Yeah, and I still love it to this day. But probably, like, not long after, probably a couple of years after that was Off the Wall. I remember I bought it at Sears, which, of course, back when Sears had a record department.
As is the case here in Canada, back when Sears existed.
Yeah, exactly. It's Sears. It's on the way out here, and it's on its last legs. And I remember buying it, with my parents, and my parents were with me, and I absolutely loved that album, and I still do. It's just, I think, it melts pop, R&B, disco, because this is 1979, so disco was still big, and even under Quincy Jones's influence, a little jazz in there. And to this day, I think artists like Justin Timberlake, The Weeknd, they're still trying to match it, and just haven't done it.
I find myself particularly partial to Bad and Dangerous. Really synth-heavy.
Yep. I think Dangerous has aged quite well. I really do. And at the time, it didn't really get a lot of respect. I remember, the critics were kind of on Dangerous. And I think when you listen to it now, I think it has aged remarkably well, and I think, like, particularly some of the sound effects that were used.
It's a work of New Jack Swing perfection. I love New Jack Swing.
You bet. It was absolutely...
Teddy Riley's fingerprints are all over it.
You bet they are. And it was New Jack Swing at its finest. And then the sound effects and all, I mean, like Timbaland in the mid 2000s, I mean, with Missy Elliott and all that. I mean, he was using all that stuff. Well, Dangerous was there first. I mean, they were using, it's really great. And so, okay, I guess it's time to plug myself again. I wrote, we're talking about this. I wrote a book on Michael Jackson, and I've got to get you a copy if you don't have one already, Ethan.
I do not have a copy.
Oh, okay. Then I will definitely, I will get you one. I wrote a book called Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop, and came out in 2015, and it's all about his music, his dance, and it's not a biography. I always tell people this is strictly about his art. Strictly about that. It's not biographical.
If you give me the book, can you also give me an extra bookshelf? I'm running out of space for books.
Oh, tell me about it. You should have my office. I have to get another bookshelf myself. Oh my gosh, it's just it's crazy. It really. I hear you on that.
Unlike records, where I continually buy them regardless of whether I have the space or not.
I know.
With books, it's like, as I'm buying it in the store, it's like, really sure this is a good idea? Where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it, Ethan? Where are you going to put it?
But you just do it anyway, because you have to have it.
It's the thrill of the hunt.
I hear you. I absolutely hear you. But
I am more of a record guy than a book guy.
Yep, absolutely. I hear you. But yep, it's on Amazon, and and you can read all about it. And yes, I go in depth into all his albums, and of course back in from the Jackson 5 until his death. And it was really an interesting book to really do a deep dive into his music and his his growth as a dancer, and just what an incredible performer he was.
And to all the people who haven't bought Kit's book, why you want to trip on me? For a second, I forgot the name of the song, and I thought, this is going to fall flat on its face. I don't remember what the punchline of the joke is as I'm finishing the setup. Anyways, I'm going to try and put the train a little bit back on its tracks.
Okay.
And change the subject from one dead guy to another 2 to 3 dead guys, depending on who you're talking to.
Okay.
Yeah, because he may have died in the car crash in 1966, may have all been covered up if you play it backwards.
Yeah.
Well, All right, so, Kid O'Toole, when did you first hear the Beatles?
Well, the first time, now, this is not when I became a fan, but probably the first time, it actually wasn't the real recordings, but I was lucky enough to be brought up in a house with music. My father was and is not a professional musician, but he was a self-taught guitarist, and he had also when he was younger, he played drums, bass, and when he was younger, even younger, he played the saxophone. And so when, he would come home from work and everything, he would, get on his guitar and play. And then at our local church, he led the guitar mass. And so, and a number of local high school kids would play in the guitar group. And so they would all come over and rehearse and all. So if he wasn't playing, okay, I'm going to really date myself here. If he wasn't playing his 8 tracks, or this was the 70s now, 8 tracks or, records, he was playing stuff live here.
I'm still waiting for the 8-track revival.
Yeah, exactly. And it just hasn't happened yet, I mean, it just hasn't. So, so I grew up with music all the time, and among the things that my dad would play on guitar were Beatles songs. And so, he would play, like Let It Be, Yesterday, Norwegian Wood he particularly liked because he's a big jazz fan, and jazz artists really liked Norwegian Wood. That's a particular song that jazz artists tend to gravitate towards. So he used to play that. So that was my first brush with the Beatles. But of course, being younger and all, I mean, you don't always like stuff your parents like. That's not cool. I mean, that's stuff. So, I grew up in the as I said, the 70s, and then going into the 80s, I was into 80s pop. I mean, we're talking Duran Duran, Wham, Michael Jackson, people like that. So I was...
you just made me really depressed. Very off topic.
Yep.
I have concert tickets to see the joint New Order and Pet Shop Boys tour. And it's probably going to be canceled. It's in September.
No. Oh, shoot. And by the way, I should say that, I am not putting down 80s music, as I'm still a big 80s music fan. I mean, I get sick of people putting down 80s music, so I totally feel you on that, because, I mean, that's the stuff I grew up with. Absolutely. So that stinks. Boy.
It's that concert and the Kraftwerk concert I was going to are probably going to be canceled.
Oh, wow. Oh, boy. And I actually, this year with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I voted for Kraftwerk.
So did I.
Should be in there. Yeah.
If I may speak candidly, I voted with 5 alternative accounts. Trying to get Kraftwerk in.
I think they deserve it. Absolutely.
They do.
They were hugely influential.
I'm the
I'll keep
operator
voting
with my
for
pocket calculator.
Yep.
She's a model and she's looking good.
Oh my goodness. But yeah, so absolutely. So, but yeah, so disclaimer there. I just want to say, yeah, absolutely. I love 80s music. I'm not putting it down at all. But I was,
Any members of Duran Duran listening? No offense.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I still think they're the, love the music. But I was really, steeped in that stuff. And I will never forget it. I think it was Mr. Tantillo's 8th grade chorus class. This would have been 1985. And on Fridays, we could bring in our own music to play for everybody, just bring in our own albums. Now, looking back, I think this was really the teacher just sort of taking a day off. And just letting us bring just bring in your own music to share with everybody, so this one student brought in a cassette tape of the Beatles' 20 greatest hits.
Ooh.
Which was the only greatest hits compilation available. I think it came out in 82. It's long out of print. Yep, long out of print, but that was it at the time. And so she brought it in and put it on. And for some reason, my ears perked up when 8 Days a Week came on.
Oh, I love 8 Days a Week.
Yep.
It's one of the first songs I learned how to play on the 12-string electric.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Wow. It's just, it was just so distinctive. I mean, it just sounded like nothing I'd heard. I don't know if it was the beat, that fading, the guitar fade in.
Yeah.
It just grabbed me. I just thought, wow, this is really different. And that just made me want to listen more. And so after school that day, I had my mother drive me to the local record shop, Chicago Peeps, if you're listening into this, went to Rose Records, which was a big record chain here back in the day, and got the cassette
of 20 Greatest Hits?
Of 20 Greatest Hits, that's right. And that was it. I listened to the whole thing, and I just had to find out more. And so when you talked about the Capitol albums, I mean, that's all you could get back then.
Yeah.
That
Unless
was
you
it.
wanted to spend the extra money on the imports.
Exactly, and those were not easy to get back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, that was pretty tough. So I got them all on, cassette, the Capitol albums. And so, so when they finally came out on compact disc in 87, that was quite a change to be like, wow, now I have to get used to.
Yeah. Wait, why does Rubber Soul start with Drive My Car?
I know, that was weird. I mean, that really took some adjusting. I really did, because I grew up on the other, and it was just so strange. But so that's how it happened, and I just had to, and also I was like, where's the Hey Jude compilation? I mean, it was stuff like that. So that's how it started.
When I really think about it, those two, Hey Jude and 20 Greatest Hits, are weird little compilations.
Yep.
Because, 20 Greatest Hits, they have the weird shortened version of Hey Jude with 4 minutes chopped off. Mm-hmm. So they could fit 12 songs aside.
Yep.
And then just the track listing for Hey Jude is just weird.
Yeah, it really is.
It's, I Should Have Known Better, and then, Old Brown Shoe.
It just kind of okay, we don't really know. We'll just sort of throw all these songs on this one, these leftovers on this, one album. And it made no sense.
Yeah.
But that's what I was, quotes, raised on. Yeah.
That kind of leads beautifully into my kind of second. So I don't really have questions. I have kind of ground posts to keep the conversation moving freely.
Sure.
What was, apart from 20 Greatest Hits, what was the first Beatles album you heard?
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. It was probably, I'm guessing it was an early one, because I think that's how I started out, because I remember the later ones being sounding kind of weird to me at first. So I'm guessing, I'm wondering if it was Hard Day's Night. I'm guessing it may have been that. I'm not 100% sure. I know it was an early one. I think it was Hard Day's Night, because that really, that further, grabbed me. The early stuff in general appealed to me when I was starting out as a Beatles fan. I think I just loved the, upbeat kind of sound, and the, romanticism of, If I Fell, and songs like that, which I still love.
That was my dad's favorite Beatles song.
Oh, really? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved it, immediately too.
I was never a big fan, but now whenever I hear it, I think of him.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's neat. But yeah, it's just, and of course, being a teenage girl, of course those kind of songs are going to, appeal to me. And I love the energy of A Hard Day's Night. I mean, how can you not? And and I mean, just the other songs, they're we all should have known better, and Can't Buy Me Love. I mean, it's
Happy Just to Dance with You.
Yeah, Happy Just to Dance with You. I mean, they're just timeless, and as I said, they're just so happy. And I think that just grabbed me, immediately. And so that's why it's funny, as I went on and then I started, going into the later ones. So like hearing the White Album for the first time, when I was a kid, I remember it took me years to really appreciate that album, because, hearing Helter Skelter, I was like, what is this? I mean, after hearing, the Can't Buy Me Love, and this is so fun, and then hearing that, or Revolution 9,
or Wild Honey Pie.
Yeah, or Wild Honey Pie, or something.
It's like a magical mystery tour straight to hell.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's like, have you ever wanted to know what a bad trip feels like? Let the Fab Four walk you through.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, when you're just starting out, as a, like you're in 8th grade or freshman in high school, you're just like, what is this? This is the same group?
So, now, since you are the queen of all Beatles media, would you consider yourself a collector?
I'm not really. I'm not a collector of memorabilia. I was never really into that. I mean, it's fun. I appreciate people who are into that. I'm
maybe more so the media.
Yeah, exactly. I'm more like when I started getting, like, I'd say in college, I started getting more into like bootlegs and stuff like that. I discovered the magic of bootlegs and things like that. So, I'm more into that kind of stuff. I mean, the collectibles are fun and all that stuff, but I'm more into the music itself. I mean, I love collecting that kind of stuff, bootlegs, alternate takes.
Yeah.
I do like to collect, of course, like, when the box sets come out and that kind of stuff. Of course, I'll do that. The McCartney archives, and, but that's as far as I go. Like when the, like Tom, our buddy Tom Hunyadi, and I kid him about this, like he'll get, when like a Ringo album will come out in different color vinyl, he'll get every color vinyl. I don't do that. That's not my thing.
See, I wouldn't do that. I may not even get it at all because it's of Ringo.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's an area of collecting, and that's great. They're all different areas. That's just not my thing. I'm more into the music itself.
I used to be more like that, but then something happened, and that something was the Egypt Station album.
Oh, yeah.
Where, like, 47,000 versions of that album came out.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of resigned myself, like, nope, I'm just getting one.
Yep. Exactly.
I don't even like this album very much. Why am I even buying one copy?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I admit I do have although that came with the concert tickets, so I will say that that was smart of them to do. That if you got tickets to see his show, you got a free copy or included in it. I guess it wasn't exactly free, but a copy of the album. And then I did
got a free copy of Egypt Station. Only had to pay $300.
Yeah, exactly. No, not exactly free, was it? And then I did get. I admit I got the Target version because it had the extra tracks. I mean, okay, I'll admit it, but I will do that sometimes if there are some tracks that I care about. Getting, but no, I will not get like 10 configurations. I mean, you have to stop somewhere.
I will admit I am not as good. I don't practice what I preach.
Yep.
When the Abbey Road reissue came out, I thought, okay, I'm just gonna get the 3 LP box set.
Yep.
And then I was in the States, in Florida, and I saw the Target one with the T-shirt. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get that. Then I got the picture disc. And when that singles box came out last year, I was so mad. Because it's like, oh my god, they're just milking this catalog for money. Of course, I already had it in my Amazon pre-order by the time those words could come out of my mouth. It's like, I don't like buying it, but I will.
That's exactly what I did. It was so funny. Last year I'm like, that's it. You have to put a limit. You have to put a limit on things. This is ridiculous. And then Mitch Axelrod, I'm sure you know him, Fab for Free for All host. He posted on his Facebook page that I forget what. Oh, You Discover Music, a website. Yeah. They were having a huge sale on it. They had marked it down. I'm like, okay. Let's order it.
I'm a member. I don't post, but I'm a member of the internet Steve Hoffman forums.
Oh yes,
and they had predicted this box set. They had some sort of insider months before it came out. So I kind of had the foresight to save up to get the box when it came out because I already knew it was coming out.
Yep, exactly. So, but it's so funny. Yeah, it's like I don't know.
Universal has a money printer.
Yeah.
The Beatles catalog is a money printer. They could release that same box set with different picture sleeves in it. Sell it all again to the same people who bought the last one, and they would probably make as much money as they did.
Exactly, and it's just so silly because, as you said, every time something new comes out, I'll do that. Like, that's it. I can't keep spending money on this. I already have a lot of this stuff. You have to cut it off somewhere.
And it's then, like, I already had the Beatles UK singles from like 1978, the box set.
Oh,
so
right.
I don't even need this.
I know. And then you cave in.
Yeah. I didn't have enough time to process those do not buy thoughts because my instincts just kind of kicked in and I blacked out.
Yep.
Amazon Prime, one-day shipping.
It really is. I'll tell you, it is, Beatles fandom, and no matter what you collect, whether it's the music, whether it's memorabilia, it's an addiction,
it is.
Once you get started, you just can't stop.
You're making me self-reflect, and I don't like that. Because
it's true.
Now I'm realizing how much my morals have shifted when it comes to record collecting. Because at first, all I wanted was just a set of British Beatles albums. Don't really care about the details. Then I got them, and I'm like, okay, now I want original British Beatle albums. And now it's like, okay, I want original mono British Beatle albums.
Yep. That's how it starts.
Yeah.
That's how it all starts.
And then next thing you know, you're at some shop in New York City buying a bootleg called The Beatles versus the Third Reich.
Yeah. Exactly. I'll tell you a funny story.
For the folks at home, that's a real bootleg.
Oh, yes, I've heard of it. I've seen pictures of it.
It cost me 60 American dollars, and I bought it basically for the cover. It's just like a crappy recording of the Star Club show. Worth every penny. Because my friends come over and I'm like, you want to see something weird? Mm-hmm. And I just pull out the Beatles versus the Third Reich, and it takes them a minute to process.
Yeah.
Because they think it's, like, real. Like, wait, what? The Beatles did what?
Oh, my gosh. Well, and you know that it's, you've gone to another level when, I remember when, this has got to be, over 10 years ago, easily. Probably more 15, now when at Beatlefest, eventually, they used to sell bootlegs in the marketplace, the Beatles marketplace, and they finally had to crack down on it when Apple sent Mark Lapidus, the founder, a letter and said, we know this is going on, cease and desist, or we'll shut you down. Mm-hmm. So bootleggers were kicked out. And so a couple of them just set up shop in their hotel rooms. Mm-hmm. And, in that way, I think Mark was able to say, hey, they're not dealing on the premises of the fest. Mm-hmm. I can't stop what they're doing in their rooms. So, so it became a thing that you would, if you were at the fest and you were interested in that, you had to find out where the room was.
Does that still happen?
I don't think so. Last couple of fests I've been to, I haven't heard anything about the room. Yeah. But I just remember, I just thought, wow, this is a whole new level in our collecting and everything. But I remember the first time I went to the room, and here's everybody. We're all in this room with and the door was closed, and we're all hunched over like these beds, and and everything's laid out in the bed. All these boxes with the stuff, and and we're talking about, do you have the good stuff? And I mean, it was just surreal. Like, wow, this is, the next level of Beatles fandom.
That is just fantastic. Yeah. It's really kind of shocking how not entirely dissimilar the worlds of Beatles record collecting and drug dealing are.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, yo, man, you got the good stuff? Yeah, I got I got the Beatles live in Adelaide, 1964. You want it? It's good shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you do you know Susan Ryan?
Yes, she's actually going to be the guest. Either I think it's the week after next.
Oh, great. Oh, she'll be terrific. Well, she tells this funny story of how, one of our bootleg friends who used to come to the fest, and he would deal, he was one of the room dealers, and just, he was the sweetest guy. And Susan brought her mother a couple of times to the fest, and so, they were walking in, and here comes Glenn, so Susan introduces Glenn to her mother and said, Mom, this is Glenn. He's my dealer. He gets the good stuff. And the mother looks wide-eyed, and she's like, bootlegs, Mom, bootlegs. So, that's what this hobby is. I mean, it's just really funny.
I actually, if the room stuff still goes on and the Beatlefest doesn't get canceled this August, I hope there's someone at the Chicago Fest with a room.
Yeah.
And if there is, you have to show me where the room is, Kit.
Okay. I'll find out. Yep. I hope there is, because that was a really fun, tradition. Plus, you could get the good stuff, but there really was good stuff. I mean, you could find some wonderful, good copies of Stadium and things like that. That just
and we're not talking CDs here. We're talking LPs.
So sometimes LPs. Yeah, he had some LPs, but some were CDs, DVDs,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But that was the other kind of fun part of going there. You never knew what you were going to find. I mean, you just didn't know what he was going to have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I hope, I hope the Chicago Fest is happening.
Yeah.
That's, of course, kind of, up in the air. Just have to kind of keep our eyes and ears open. But yeah, I hope there's a room there. I'm not sure if there will be, but that was part of the fun.
I had such a great time at the Chicago Fest.
Oh, I'll tell you,
I had
it's a fun time.
Such a depressing year and a half before the fest, and that was the first time I had felt pure joy since my dad had passed away.
Oh,
and I even stopped Mark Lapidus on an escalator and told him, like, thank you. You don't know how much this has made me happy.
Oh, I'm sure he loved that. Was that your first fest?
Yeah. And it really made an impact, how all the people like you and Susan and Sarah Schmidt
Sure.
were so nice and welcoming to me. Like, it really made me feel like I was a part of something, and it stuck with me.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll tell you, and that's the thing. I mean, when I started going to the fest in I was in college for sure. And I had a very similar experience. Going to the fest, you're just like, wow, there are other people, that are as passionate about this as I am. I mean, and yeah, as you said, people are really nice and really welcoming there. And, it's just so fun to be with people who, are as interested as you are. And you have some wonderful conversations about the music, and you learn stuff.
I had more than a few people come up to me saying, you remind me of myself in 1977 when I came to my first fest.
Yep. Absolutely.
One thing that really sticks out, there's a couple memories of Beatlefest, being Mark Lewison's stalker for the weekend, trying to squeeze all the Beatles information I could out of him.
Sure.
I even had him sign one of my books twice. I made him write a little footnote about Carnival of Light in the recording sessions book, because I really wanted to know more about it.
Nice.
And for some reason, I found Wally kind of intimidating.
Oh yeah. He's a great guy. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
Well, it's kind of scary when you're up there trying to buzz and then he's staring into your soul.
He's a pussycat. he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But I know it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
I know in those.
And then the last memory I'll share before I'll go back to you, because this has gone very narcissistic for me, rambling on about myself.
No.
There was a fella called, I don't know what his actual name is, Night Rainbow, I think his name is.
I don't think I know him.
He showed up at the trivia thing, and he won. But there was something slightly off there. Like, have you, the term acid casualty? That's kind of what came to mind.
Yeah,
going by the name Night Rainbow in 2019.
I was gonna say that's kind of your first hint.
Yeah.
If that a name like that, yep. The vast majority of people there are fantastic. They really are, and again, there's some that they never quite left the 60s. In a way, let's put it that way.
I've heard it said, like, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there.
Yeah, exactly. And there were some that not very many.
Yeah.
But just sometimes you see someone where you're like, I don't think they remember the 60s.
The only negative thing about the fest that I can remember was I'm not going to say his name, but a certain member of Wings was not very nice to me.
Oh, I'm sorry about that.
And I'll just say it wasn't Steve Hawley or Lawrence Juber.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ah, gotcha.
He had himself set up in a separate room with a security guard.
Yes, now I know. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Do you really think someone's going to break down the door to get to you? Former member of the Moody Blues?
Well, one thing I can say is I almost knocked down Billy J. Kramer once.
Oh?
Yeah.
Please elaborate.
It was, of course, a complete accident, but I think it was in New York. It was at the New York Fest, and I was, if you're, a guest speaker and all, you get to go, you can sit backstage if you want to at the night, evening concerts in the ballroom. And so that's what I was doing. And I don't know if you know Rob Leonard. He's one of the co-hosts of the Fab Four Free for All. He doesn't come to the Chicago Fest. He's usually just at the New York Fest. Great guy.
I don't think I would have met him then.
Oh yeah, he wasn't at the Chicago Fest, and really really nice guy. And he hosts a weekly radio show out of New York, Beatles songs. And so we had been hanging out a bit during the weekend, and so he had asked me if would I mind doing like a I forget what they're called now, but basically, recording where I'd say, "Hi, I'm Kid O'Toole, and you're listening to Rob Leonard's Beatles songs." One of those, like a, station promo or something.
Yeah.
So after the concert, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure, no problem." And so,
was that when you rammed full speed into Billy J. Kramer?
Well, kind of. What happened was, so Rob was backstage with me, and so he said, "Hey, after the concert's over, why don't we step?" There was a doorway, and it went out into sort of this, this long hallway. That, it was like a labyrinth of hallways behind the stage. He said, "We can just step out here and do, it's a little quieter. We can do the promo." So fine. So the show was ending, and everybody was walking off the stage, including Billy J. Kramer. Now, in my complete defense, it was really dark backstage. Really dark, and there were a lot of cords that were around. And
blame it on the cords, Kit.
Yep, and they were not taped down properly. So I'm trying so there's this crowd, it's dark, I'm trying to find the door, and of course I do a pratfall worthy trip over one of these cords, and Billy broke my fall. And he turns around and of course "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And he just looked at me and in astonishment. And thank God I didn't knock him down to the ground or something.
Yeah.
But,
so in your years of the Beatlefest, did you ever get into another round of fisticuffs with a famous Beatles person? Did you and Klaus Vormann throw hands?
No, we never threw down or anything like that.
Yeah.
I have met him a couple of times though at the fest.
I really want to meet him.
Yeah, he's very, very nice, very kind of reserved, and
he's German.
Yes, exactly. So he's kind of reserved, but he's very nice. I mean, he's just kind of formal.
Yeah.
As you kind of would expect.
Yeah. Although with him, I wouldn't really even want to talk about the Beatles. I'd want to talk about, he was the bass player in the second version of Manfred Mann.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I love the second version of Manfred Mann. Mm-hmm. With, the Mighty Quinn, said the clown.
Yep, absolutely. There's so many things you could talk to him about, and about his artwork, and about, absolutely. He's one of
He produced that song, Da 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 by Trio.
Yeah, Trio. Exactly. I mean, really, he's one of those guys. Yeah, when you meet him, a couple of times I've met him, I've kind of frozen a little bit. When I met him, you just kind of feel like there's so much you want to ask him and want to talk to him about. You just are oh. Me, I'm like, what do I say?
That was kind of how I was with Mark Lewison.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you kind of freeze. I mean, it's really, really funny. But yeah, nice guy. Yeah, definitely. I'm glad. I didn't realize that was your first fest. So that, that is so cool. I'm glad you got to one. I hope that won't be your last.
Oh.
I mean, you hope you'll keep on coming.
Not if I can help it.
Good.
I got the bug.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
this time, I'll bring more money to spend at the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Because I don't think I had ever seen a butcher cover in the flesh, let alone seeing 25 in the same room.
Yeah, right. Yep, you're gonna see. Just be careful.
Yeah.
You gotta make sure it's a legit one.
Well, you look to see if there's the V on the cover.
Right.
And
Yep.
And if they were trying to sell one so mint, if it was like, $500, I would know, okay, that's a fake. There's no way it would be in that good condition for that cheap.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
Anyways, let's, this kind of actually transitions into the next question. What does it mean to be a Beatle fan to you?
Oh my goodness, that is a big question. What does it mean to be?
Or I'll split it into two questions.
Okay.
What did it mean for you back then when you first were in your fan infancy, if I may say, and now as well-respected author and podcast host?
Oh wow. Oh goodness. Okay. Well. Okay. So, I guess back. When I was, a wee, a wee fan, it was about, it was about learning. Well, it is about learning now as well, but it was about, just sort of learning about the music, being, I guess it wasn't like it didn't become as big a part of my life as it has become now. I mean, it was about just, learning about their story and listening to the music and just learning about it. It was all new to me. I mean, this was all just a brand new thing to me. And
it's all so beautiful when it's brand new.
Yeah, exactly.
I long for the days when I had just discovered the Beatles.
Oh, absolutely. And my first Paul McCartney concert, I remember in 1989 when he was touring behind Flowers in the Dirt.
Yeah.
And I mean, the day I got the Paul McCartney tickets, I was so excited. I mean, and I'm still excited going to Paul shows, but that very first one, I mean, that was exciting. And it was interesting, being in high school when I was still becoming a fan and my friends weren't really into this stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you can relate to that with many of your friends. Yeah. And trying to say to my friends, you got to listen to this stuff. I mean, this is it, and I was just learning about myself, and a lot of them were just kind of like whatever, and although it was fun when George Harrison had his comeback in the 80s, and then my friends started listening to Got My Mind Set on You, and I'd be like, see, this is great stuff. Now listen to what he did before, but it was just like constantly discovering new things, and it was great because on top of that, as I said, George Harrison was coming out with new music, Paul McCartney was coming out with new music, so it was in 87, was celebrating the 20th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper. So
20 years ago today.
Exactly. So there was a lot of stuff around that, and but then as I got older and started getting into I'd say graduate school and all, well, and actually, let me back up for a second. I started getting inklings. I thought, I wonder if this is this is just it's going to go beyond just a little hobby, because in high school, senior year, I was the editor of the high school newspaper, and I wrote an editorial about my experience at my first Paul McCartney concert in '89. And I wrote this editorial about it because it was great, because I was kind of like, I'm the editor-in-chief. I can write, I can write whatever I want in this. So I wrote this thing. And, shortly after the paper came out, I was walking to one of my classes, and a gym teacher who I had, not much to do with, I mean, I knew.
I can relate with that.
Yep. I was not a jock. And so, this, Mr. Danko, I'll never forget it. Mr. Danko saw me in the hall, and he's like, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And I thought, what's this about? And so he pulled me aside, and he's like, "I just had to tell you," he said, "I read that editorial you wrote," and he said, "I just had to tell you," he said, I loved it, and he said, "It brought me back to how I felt when I was a Beatles fan back in the 60s. And he said, your writing about that show just brought me right back." And he said, I can't, it was just so, well written and everything. And, and you just, you took me back, and it just made me so happy. And I just, then thought, wow, my writing did that too. And, that kind of helped set me on a path with my writing, as well as, but it was kind of the first time my hobby and my writing kind of intersected. And, then as I got into graduate school and went on.
Can I just jump in here? Because
sure.
I'll forget this. I think part of the reason why I was such a Beatles fan, because you mentioned Paul McCartney concert. My mom and dad saw Paul McCartney at Madison Square Garden in April of 2002. So I would have been, my mom would have been heavily pregnant with me seeing Paul McCartney, and she said I was kicking during Live and Let Die when all the fireworks were going off. Yeah, but I still remember going to see my first Paul McCartney concert. I think it was Fenway Park, and it was magical.
Yep.
Except for the drunk dude behind me who spilt his beer on my brand new concert T-shirt.
Oh man, yeah. There's always one, at least one in every crowd.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, you never forget. You never forget the first time you see him live. I mean, it's a real, as you said, it's a magical experience.
And I'll never live it down. The second time I saw him, which was the last time, I was wearing I have a Sgt. Pepper outfit, like the blue one that Paul wore on the cover.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I wore it to the concert, and I know his guitar player for sure waved at me from the stage, and I think Paul McCartney gave me like an air fist pump.
Cool.
And I'm never gonna live that down.
Of course.
Beatle acknowledged my existence.
Yeah.
I am verified in the eyes of God.
Hey, I remember that first time seeing him, it was like, we're in the same room. I'm in the same room with Paul McCartney. I'm in the same room with a Beatle. I mean, it's, I mean, it's unbelievable. You just can't believe it. It's just incredible.
For some reason, didn't feel that way when I saw Ringo.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's the thing. I've seen Ringo twice, and he's great. You know, and his shows are a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, however, they are like equal parts Ringo concert, equal part Toto.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's a very different experience, but they're a lot of fun. I enjoy, both times I've seen them, I've enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not quite the same thing.
No.
Not quite.
With McCartney, it was like I was staring into the sun.
Yeah, right.
It's like, this is the same man who wrote Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. I mean, it's pretty astounding, but yeah. So then, so as time went on, then becoming a fan, it the fandom changed, that it started becoming, it really had a bigger influence on my life. It wasn't just having fun and having it be sort of a hobby and everything, I started going to fests and meeting all kinds of people and making friends who I never would have met if I hadn't been a fan. In 2000, I went to London and Liverpool. And never would have done that. Maybe London, but certainly not Liverpool.
Yeah, I went to Liverpool too. My mom did that as a Christmas gift for me one year.
Oh, right. Oh, nice. And that's a great experience.
It was weird. Because it's like, this is the Cavern Club, or at least sort of where the Cavern Club used to be, except a little down the street.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a tourist trap, but I didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
sure.
Yeah, and the people there were so nice if you could understand what they were saying.
Yeah, but they are
right, Scouse, they talk like this, Yeah. Oh, you look for the Beatles Museum. Apologize to any listeners who are listening from the United Kingdom. I offer my sincerest apologies from the Commonwealth.
But they're very nice, and I would love to go back. I went there in 2000, and actually our friend Susan was just there in January. She and her husband went, and they were saying, boy, has it been, it's really changed, and there's so much more to see and do there, and they just had a blast.
Oh yeah.
So I'd love to go back, but yeah, I never would have been there, had I not, been a fan. And then, I wrote my book, Songs We Were Singing, guided tours of the Beatles' lesser known tracks. I became an author. Then of course doing our videocast / podcast. They really ended up having a huge impact on my life, and so becoming a fan, it not only did I become a fan, they kind of helped shape my career.
Yeah.
And so it's really,
I hope they'll shape mine.
Yes, exactly. Well, this is a start. Yeah. Absolutely.
Although I don't think I'm going to go into the publishing world. Graphic design is my passion.
Oh, nice. Well, absolutely.
If I could snag a job at Universal or Apple, I'd die happy just doing artwork for all the Infinite reissues.
There you go. So that's the thing, and there's a terrific book out there by a sociologist named Candy Leonard. She has come to a number of fests, and she hasn't come in a few years, but she wrote a book called Beatleness, where she interviewed a number of first-generation Beatle fans. And she talked to them about the influence that the Beatles had on their lives. And that was a point she made, that, there aren't many other bands, or I don't know if there are any other bands I can think of, that really impacted lives as deeply as the Beatles did. These were, she asked them about their political views, their, and just all different ways in which the Beatles shaped their lives, their careers, and different ways. And, it's really amazing how this one band ended up, shaping a generation in many different ways.
Because, the Stones didn't do that.
Not real. They're a great band.
Oh, they are a great band.
Great band. But yeah, I don't see, them shaping views like that.
No.
Yeah, it's just a completely different thing.
All right. What is your favorite memory of... either a memory of being a fan of the Beatles, or a memory involving the Beatles, or being around other Beatle fans?
Oh, gosh. Oh, okay. I've got one. This
sounds good.
Yep, the second time I saw Paul McCartney. And this still ranks as the greatest concert I've ever been to.
Was this 1993?
This was 1990.
Okay.
Because that darn Paul skipped Chicago in 93 on that new World Tour.
God.
So that naughty Paul, he skipped us. I could have driven to Milwaukee, but But anyway, no, this was it was the last last date on his tour on the tour that year. This was, and I'm blanking out on it. Was the Flowers in the Dirt tour?
I think it was just called the Paul McCartney World Tour.
I
have the tour book on my shelf.
Yep, I think you're right. And boy, when you look back, that tour book was free. That was just on everybody's seat. Can you believe that?
Really?
It was a free book. I mean, it was like a magazine.
You're lucky if you can get a tour book for like $30 now.
I know. Can you believe it? On that tour, it was free.
Although I think it's good for the people who like tour books that they're still like the cheapest things you can get at a concert. Because I don't like getting T-shirts and stuff, but I always try and make a point of getting a program.
Yeah, the programs are they're definitely the best deal you're gonna get. That's for sure. But
Stones,
anyway,
I saw the Stones and I got a foam finger, which is slightly different.
Yeah, right. That's
I
true.
I got a book, a poster, and a foam tongue thing.
Wow! Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Of course, it's gonna.
Saw them in a crowded farmer's field in Orillia, Ontario.
Oh wow!
Don't know why they were playing there. Mm-hmm. I guess it was just so they could have like 70,000 people.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and we were stuck in the parking lot for I want to say 4 hours afterwards.
Oh my gosh.
Like, it was gridlock. We did not move between 11:30 when we got back to our cars and 3:30 when we actually ended up leaving the parking lot.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's brutal. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I've been in not quite 4 hours, but I've been in situations like that. Ugh.
It caused me my 19th nervous breakdown.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Yeah.
I see what you did there. Oh my god. That's one of my favorite Stone songs, actually.
My favorite is Have You Seen Your Mother, Baby Standing in the Shadow?
Interesting. Oh my goodness. But anyway,
a little bit of a deep cut.
Yeah, it is a bit of a deep cut. It's very impressive.
It's a great song, though.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. But anyway, so I was, so this was, in 1990, I think it was in July, and it was the last day on this tour, and it was at Solo Beatles in Chicago, and it was, it was a huge show. It had rained for much of the day, but of course, because this is Paul McCartney.
The 29th of July, 1990.
Yes, indeed. Yep. I just pulled up July. All right.
Just pulled up the Wikipedia.
Yep. And as I said, it had rained most of the day, but of course, because it was Paul McCartney, it had miraculously stopped raining, like right before the show started. And
of course.
I was on, of course, because it's Paul.
Yeah.
And I was on the field. My friends and I were on the field, and I mean, it was an incredible show. It had fireworks. I mean, now I don't recall before on this tour that the pyrotechnics were as big for Live and Let Die as they are now. I don't recall that, but I mean, they really did up the fireworks for this show, and I think it was because it was the last day, the last stop on the tour. And I mean, he played encore after encore. I mean, and it was, by this time, it was kind of humid because it rained and all. And so, I mean, when he came out after, another encore, and he would be like, you guys ready to rock? I mean, we were wilting the field, and, and he'd be like, you ready to rock? And we're just like, hey. I mean, we were just wilting out there.
Because you don't want to say to yourself, yeah, Paul McCartney, stop playing music.
Exactly. I mean, we were just exhausted. But yeah, exactly. What are we going to say? No, get off the stage.
Yeah.
But I remember at one point. But I remember at one point when he was doing Let It Be, and I turned around and looked at all the rafters and all. I mean, all the seats, and everybody was holding up, of course, pre-iPhones and all, real cigarette lighters. Everybody was holding up, and I think they were selling like, light flashlights
Yeah.
and stuff. And
I had
everybody was...
I had a
Oh,
very
go ahead.
similar experience when I saw him in Hamilton,
and
Ontario. Except instead of
Yep.
lighters, it was the cell phone lights, and it
Yep,
looked
exactly.
the arena looked like
Yep.
a disco ball.
Exactly. And I'll never forget that, turning around and looking at that. I mean, the whole stadium like that. And
But I can't even imagine what it would be like instead of just static lights with like lighters.
Yep,
To me,
these
that
were
just
lighters.
that
Yep,
just sounds
and
beautiful.
It was. It was stunning. And I will never, ever forget that. And it was just, it was the most incredible concert. I mean, he played, as I said, until we were worn out. Not him. We were.
The man's like the Energizer Bunny.
He is, and of course still is to this day.
Yeah.
And it was just a night to remember.
Speaking of, what did you think of his performance for the world concert thing of Lady Madonna?
It was okay.
I liked it. It was jazzy.
I didn't. I have to admit, I didn't love that arrangement. I was surprised at first when he went into Lady Madonna. That was not.
It sounded like he was setting it up to be Let It Be.
Yeah, exactly. And he talked about his mother and everything. I thought, here we go,
well,
Let It Be.
I thought he was going to go into Come Together because he had said the phrase "Come Together."
Oh, right.
Is that what he's going to do?
Yep. So, yeah, I don't think anyone guessed it would be Lady Madonna. But then when he talked about his mother and then, and then they were showing the pictures of the healthcare workers, it made sense.
Yeah.
I mean, but, I wasn't insane about that arrangement, but I gave him a lot of credit, of course, for doing it. I mean, for taking part in that special. But yeah, and of course, everybody talks about his voice, and I'm glad I saw him in the years where, at the very beginning when his voice was still, still really strong and the whole thing. But hey,
his voice was okay in 2013 when I saw him.
Yeah.
Wasn't great when I saw him in 2016.
Yeah.
But, it's still better than not having him around.
Exactly. He's still Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the man is in his late 70s.
Yeah, he hasn't changed the keys to any of his songs to fit the voice.
And I wish he would, because I've mentioned that to people, and they're like, well, that would really bother me if he changed the keys.
It would bother me.
Yeah, see, it wouldn't really, because, Ringo has done that.
Yeah, but that bothers me when he does it.
Really?
I
don't know. I'm okay with it at this point. It wouldn't bother me that much. I think, I would rather have him do that than... and I also think...
Although I think Photograph does work better in that lower key.
Yeah, and I would rather hear that than hear him like straining his voice. Yeah. And there are certain songs I think that he just can't, Paul, just cannot do anymore with his voice and needs to, like Maybe I'm Amazed. I love Maybe I'm Amazed. I absolutely love that song, but I just don't, that is a hard song to sing. It's very rangy. And I
maybe
just
that's
don't
why
think...
he hasn't done silly love songs since like the 70s.
Yeah, exactly. Love the song, absolutely love it. I miss it, but if he can't do it, if it's just too pushing his voice too hard, that's fine. He doesn't have to do it. I totally get it. Yeah. So but yeah, so that's one very, very special memory I have. That was really still stands as the best concert I've ever been to, and it was just a beautiful moment of seeing all the flickering lights. That was wonderful.
It does sound beautiful. All right, since you're one of the smartest Beatles people I know, you know a lot about the Beatles.
Thank you.
Pause for blush. What is your favorite weird piece of Beatles trivia that you know?
Weird piece of Beatles
like something that you can like pull out at random, just talking about Beatles trivia. Like mine, I said this to Ken, is that there was this meeting in 1968 at Apple that John called an emergency meeting to inform the rest of the band that he was, in fact, the reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
Oh, yes!
And he was stoned out of his mind, and then the meeting was shortly adjourned thereafter.
I remember that.
Yeah. something like that.
Yep. I remember thinking.
If you can't think of one, I've got an extra one. Just
Okay,
thinking.
no, I think I've got one.
Okay. I might tell the extra one anyways.
Oh no, I remember thinking when I was with my friend when we went to Liverpool and we were sitting on the tour bus, and I must digress for a second because this just shows what I'm a proud Beatles geek. When the tour bus pulled up, did you do like a bus tour in Liverpool?
We had tickets to do like the Magical Mystery Tour.
Yes, that's what we did.
But we couldn't find it.
Yeah, we had a hard time finding it.
So we ended up we were at the exit of the Beatles Story Museum.
Okay.
And we were just going to call a cabbie. Mm-hmm. And ask him to take us back to the hotel. And then we asked him, do you know anyone who does Beatles cab tours? And he just turned off his cab light. And he's like, I'll take you for a tour.
Oh, cool.
And so he took us all around Liverpool.
Nice.
He showed us Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane and everything.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But I didn't get to sit on the Magical Mystery Tour bus.
Okay, so this was funny. So we did do the bus tour, and so I wasn't sure, what to expect. And when the bus pulled up, and it was, of course, a replica of the Magical Mystery Tour bus, it really was. When it pulled up, the friend that was with me, she was not a big Beatles fan. I mean, she was being very nice and going along with this. The bus pulls up. And I wish someone had taken a picture of both of our reactions, like our faces at the moment the bus pulled up. Because, bus pulls up, I'm thrilled. I'm just like, oh, cool. Look at this. The neon bus. And this is great. And I think my friend looked and was just like, oh, no. Like, what the hell is this? So we get on the bus. So as the tour is going on and the guy was, the tour guide was talking and everything, and it was a full bus. And I remember thinking at one point, just randomly, I wonder if anyone on this bus would be interested that one of John's former girlfriends, Liverpool, was Thelma Pickles. That name always stuck with me, that John dated a woman named Thelma Pickles in Liverpool. I just love that name.
Thelma Pickles, if you're listening.
Yep.
Hit me up. Love to have you on.
Absolutely. I'm sure she'd have some good stories.
Yeah.
I'm sure she would. Yep, I just always remember that he was dating a girl, but pre-Cynthia, named Thelma Pickles. You asked for weird.
Yeah.
Weird trivia.
I'll give an extra bit, because my friend told me about this one. He's not even a huge Beatles fan, but he told me, and I verified this, I found it in a book, when the Beatles first smoked pot with Bob Dylan, Brian Epstein smoked some as well, and for about like half an hour he was standing in the mirror at the hotel in New York City just laughing his head off and pointing and shouting "Jew" at the mirror.
Oh jeez.
And he was like stoned out of his mind.
Oh my god. That reminds me of another one that I think when the first time Paul tried LSD, that and I'm trying to remember if it was Mal. This sounds like something Mal would do, but I'm not 100% sure. That he instructed somebody to follow him around because he was convinced, Paul, that he would say some brilliant stuff.
Oh, I heard this in the anthology.
Yep, I love that. And that went the next day when he came down and he's like, okay, show me the paper. and it was, I think the thought was, there are 7 levels.
Yeah. I just finished watching the anthologies.
Yeah.
And, I absolutely lost it when Paul had scribbled down on the paper, giving it to Mal Evans, and Mal's like, "Hey, Paul, you wanna see what you wrote? That was so brilliant." And he's like, "Yeah." there are 7 levels. And nothing more.
I love that. I mean, I just love that. Yeah, Paul was just convinced that he was going to say he was going to have some brilliant thought.
Oh, I've had moments like that too.
Yeah. Oh man. I love that story.
All right, now it's time for, I think, my favorite part of the show, the quick fire questions.
Oh my God. All right.
Don't worry, there's not that many.
Okay.
Okay, what is your favorite Beatles song?
Tomorrow Never Knows.
Good choice. Mm-hmm. And, oh, God. Hopefully you will say something different, because the last 2 guests I've had on have had the same answer to the next question. What is your least favorite Beatles song? Please don't say Mr. Moonlight. Please don't say Mr. Moonlight.
No, I won't.
Oh,
That's actually... No, I defend that song.
Oh, good. So do I.
Yeah, I defend it. I think that's one of his most underrated vocal performances.
Yeah,
actually.
I love the droning harmonies and the, belting, Mister!
Yeah, the beginning's great.
Yeah.
I think the organ...
Oh, I like the cheesy organ.
Oh, really? You like it? That's the one part that I think, if they didn't have the organ, that maybe it would have...
Sounds like elevator music.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. Maybe if they hadn't... But otherwise, no, I'm a defender of Mr. Moonlight, so nope, I'm not going to say that. I think it's unfairly dissed.
Thank God, because I didn't want to go 3 for 3.
Yep. So yeah, probably Wild Honey Pie.
Okay, that's a fair one.
Yep.
All right. What is your favorite Beatles album? Actually, no, wait. Back to Wild Honey Pie. My friend, who is going to be the guest next week, had a radio show up in Huntsville, Ontario, and the show was programmed from a computer, and he had gone to the bathroom or something, or gone into another office. And while he was gone, I had slid into the radio queue Wild Honey Pie. Oh. And so it played on the air in its entirety, unnoticed.
Oh, funny.
Well, he didn't notice until it started playing, and he's like, "Ethan, what did you do?" Yeah. All right. What is your favorite Beatles album?
Revolver.
That's the right answer.
Good.
I ask this question as an open-ended question, but really, there's only one correct answer. Yep. I mean, it's Revolver. Mm-hmm. It's got everything that made Sgt. Pepper and Magical Mystery Tour great, and it's got everything that made the early Beatles great.
Absolutely. Now, I love Abbey Road, too. I mean, Abbey Road's a great album.
That's my number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it's kind of a tough call, but I would say Revolver was, as you said, it's where everything,
It's got my favorite Beatles song, which is She Said, She Said.
Yeah. That's a great song, too.
It hits me on a deeper plane of existence.
Yeah, really. Oh, great song.
And finally, what is your least favorite Beatles album?
Oh, man.
And you can pick from either the British ones or the American ones, whichever you'd like.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Because, I'm trying to think least favorite, because none of them are really bad. I mean, there's not really a truly bad Beatles album.
Except for Let It Be.
Yeah, well... I mean, I guess, but even that's got, some great moments. I mean,
it's a thoroughly unhappy album.
Yeah, I mean, it's, but even then, it's got some beautiful moments, Long and Winding Road. I'm a defender of that song. I think it's...
See, I can't stand that song.
Really?
I find it dull and monotonous. I will change the radio if that song comes on.
Oh, wow. See, I think
same as the song Yesterday.
Yeah, that song, it kind of, I'm a little burned out on Yesterday, to be honest with you, but it's a masterpiece of a song for sure. But it's just one of those that it's I've heard it so many times that I mean, I can sing the whole thing, but it's just one that I'm like, yes, I've heard this a lot,
Yeah.
but I don't hate it. It's just that I've heard it. Yeah, I would say, I don't know, maybe. I guess maybe what. Well, I'm trying to think.
Remember, you can also pick American albums.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to decide because I always felt like, well, I was going to say Magical Mystery Tour, but there are some great
I would have been
moments
upset
on
if
that
you said
too.
that.
Oh, a what?
I would have been upset if you said that.
Because I mean, there are some moments that on there that I'm like,
I prefer it to Sgt.
that's not some of
Pepper.
their best. Yeah. I mean, I will say this: Sgt. Pepper is, I think, it's a bit overrated.
In hindsight, it sounds a little overblown and pompous.
Yeah, I think, I would say it's definitely an album of its time. It's historically important. It's a snapshot of the time. Do I think it's the best Beatles album? No. No, I mean, it isn't, and so, and it kind of makes me cringe when people still call it the #1 album of all time.
It's not even the #1 album of the Beatles.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's the thing. So, I mean, I get why it's important.
Yeah.
It's historically important. But
it's like the turning point where it went from pop to rock and the genre changed.
Exactly. And it captured a period of time. As I said, snapshot of the Summer of Love. I totally get all that.
Well, but the thing is, I don't even get that argument where it captured the snapshot of the Summer of Love, because when I listen to it, there's nothing particularly psychedelic about it, except for maybe Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds and Within You Without You. I don't think Fixing a Hole or She's Leaving Home would represent the beautiful people of the Summer of Love.
Well, and although A Day in the Life kind of.
Oh, that, I forgot about that.
Yeah, A Day in the Life, I'd Love to Turn You On, and, all that stuff. But, I think, though, it is, I mean, as I said, it's a great album. I'm not putting it down. But definitely it's my favorite album of the Beatles. But I'm not going to say it's my least favorite.
Yeah, because that would imply that it's not good.
Yeah, exactly, and
I don't think the Beatles made a stinker.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why this is such a hard question, because they never made like a stinker.
Yeah.
Now some people would argue Beatles for Sale, and I don't agree with that. That's an album
That's what I think. I think Ken said that one was. Wait, no, he said With the Beatles. I think my Uncle Paul said Beatles for Sale.
Yep, and I've come to defend that album. I
love it.
Yep, I think It's
the Beatles at their best and most burnt out.
Yes. I think that's the thing. People think it's, they're burned out. And they look like it on the cover. I get it. But, I mean, I think it has, with songs like I'm
8 Days
a Loser.
a Week.
Yeah.
Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some great, great covers, but it's got some great originals too. Like, as I said,
Babies in Black. Come on.
I mean, there's some great songs, and I think it represents the very beginnings of them turning, their writings getting more introspective, and it's like the first inklings of things to come. And I think it's an important album in that sense too. So no, I'm not one of those, and I know a number of people who don't like that album.
Those people are wrong.
Exactly. As I say, you have every right to be wrong.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Everyone's entitled to a bad opinion every now and then.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I would have to say, with a lot of caveats, that, what it be in comparison is the weakest, maybe weakest album, with, saying for a Beatles album.
Yeah.
Because they never really recorded a stinker. I mean, it's amazing, for all the albums they did, that they had that kind of record, that they never really, recorded a bomb. I mean, so I would say, also because of Phil Spector's production.
If you
some
want,
of it, not on all the songs, but on a number. Like, I did not.
It sounds fine on I Me Mine.
Yeah.
But if you want to listen to Let It Be, either listen to the Let It Be Naked or track down a bootleg of the Glyn Johns mix.
Right. Yep. Or Across the Universe. I did not like Across the Universe until I heard the stripped down mix. And then I'm like, oh, this is a beautiful song. But
is that the one with the birds chirping and the apple scruff singing?
Yes. Yep. And I love, much love to the Apple Scruffs. I know a few of them, and they're great. Love them. But I like the stripped down version better. I thought that really captured the song, and I just thought, the production on that was over the top, really hid the beauty of the words, so I know that was supposed to be rapid fire, and that wasn't exactly rapid fire answer.
I say rapid fire in quotes.
Yes.
Because they're not very deep questions.
No, that's right.
Yeah. So
I made that longer than it had to be, but
So, Kit, is there anything more you would like to add?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, this has just been, such fun looking back. I mean, really has. I mean, it's been a lot of fun, and love just talking about. And I know I talked to you about this a little bit, during our conversations on Facebook. That, I think this is a perspective that we don't hear enough about, the fan perspective, and how we became fans, and
because each story is like a fingerprint. Everyone's got their own.
Exactly.
There are no two Beatles discovery stories that are the same.
Exactly, and and how our fandom has impacted our lives, and and I just think that these are wonderful stories to tell, because these, they're important stories to tell, because, I mean, of course, it's about the music, and of course, it's about the history of the band, but I think, there's more to it than that, and I'm really glad that you're doing this, that you started this podcast, and that you're allowing us to tell our stories, and you're telling your own story too, which I think is wonderful, and you're talking to, you're letting different generations tell their stories together, which I just I just think this is a wonderful project, and I wish you all the best with this, Ethan.
Thank you. The best way you can repay me is inviting me to be a guest on Talk More Talk.
Well, we're well, you know what we're hoping is we're thinking, with the way Zoom has really taken off. Because right now, we're using Be Live, which is a technology we use, so we can broadcast on Facebook. Well, the problem is we can only have 4 people on screen at a time. But with Zoom, of course, you can have more people. So we're thinking about switching over to that. So if we can pull that off, we may be having more guests in the future. So
I'd be honored, even though I suggested it.
Well, thank you. Well,
I don't hold my cards close to my chest.
I know. I know that. And, Oh, God.
Hey, if you want something in life, just go for it.
Absolutely. Yay, life's too short.
Yeah, life's too short. Oh, I just knocked over my guitar slide.
Oh, no.
It's fine, though. All right. I'm still getting the hang of this. I'm still trying to figure out how to wrap up a podcast. So I'll say what I said last week, if I may paraphrase from The Truman Show. good morning, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon and good night. And yeah, thanks for listening. Ta-ta for now. Bye, kid.
Bye, thanks for having me on.
No problem.
Bands on the Run is produced by Ethan Alexanian. Additional voiceovers by Richard Phillip. This has been a Showtown production.